Hi, welcome to the Vedic Astrology New Moon Forecast for June 3rd, 2019, Vedic Astrology and Tarot reading. So the new moon is approaching. How are you feeling? These are the dark days of the moon. The moon is waning and waning until June 3rd at exactly 3:02 a.m. Pacific time. The moon will become conjunct the sun and begin to wax again. New moons are always more sensitive times, the dark moon days, especially building up to the new moon. And we may feel more introverted or a little more tired even. Now this June especially has some very heavy, intense aspects from other planets as well. So there's a particularly exhausting energy perhaps around this new moon, or a feeling of anxiety building. So this June is probably the most fiery of all the alignments of the year. We have all the malefics, Saturn and Ketu, which is still lined up in Sagittarius, and now Mars conjoining Rahu will soon on June 1st be joined by Mercury as well. So we have a lot of intense energy right now running through Sagittarius and Gemini. So those signs especially are affected. So the new moon is in the nakshatra, or the area of the sky in Vedic astrology called Rohini nakshatra. This is a favorite place of the moon. The moon is exalted there because this is the red eye. It's Aldebaran, the reddish star that's situated right in the eye of the bull, Taurus, where the moon is exalted. There's a lot of fertile energy there. It's very determined, very sensual, very creative energy as well. So all this life energy is in that star. And this new moon cycle is starting there. This very creative, potent, powerful, exalted new moon cycle. And Jupiter is also retrograde, as you know, and reaching its peak of magnitude. That means it's brighter than it's going to be for quite some time. So if you're interested in seeing Jupiter, this is a great time to check out this planet. Go outside and after sunset and check. Jupiter is visible for most of the night and very bright in Scorpio, the constellation of Scorpio, where he actually is pretty strong, very transformative and powerful energy right now. Jupiter's gaze or aspect onto this new moon cycle gives it a lot of potential for growth, for spiritual and creative growth in general. There's something very auspicious happening there. However, this other stuff that's going on, as I said before, with Mars and Rahu and Saturn and Ketu, are making quite a powerful lineup this June for frustration, impatience, and general feeling perhaps of something's not finished, something needs to be fixed in life and not quite knowing how to move forward with it, perhaps. You see, Mars is a red planet that is very known anyway to be kind of like the warrior or the soldier. He's aggressive, and it's where our willpower comes from, our desire for action. So Mars entered the sign of Gemini around May 17th. I think I mentioned it last time. And it's where Rahu is as well in Gemini. So the two are joining forces. Now Rahu is the head of the snake, the karmic snake, they call him, or the karmic axis where eclipses happen. You can't see Rahu, he's a shadow, unless there's an eclipse. Right? So this energy is shadow energy, and it tends to magnify whatever it's with. It makes it bigger than us, right? And there's something that also that can happen where there's sort of an overreaching energy with Mars, and aggression, a sort of want it now, impatience, frustration, and a little bit like gasoline and fire coming together. They exponentialize the force of Mars. Now Mars has been passing through the nakshatra of Ardra, which is inside Gemini. this star is connected with storms and this sort of extra destructive form of Shiva called Rudra, this stormy god, Shiva. So there is this possibility for a lot of frustration, perhaps lately, if you've been feeling it in one way or another. Also, it's been interesting. We've been getting a lot of very intense weather, probably because of climate change, tornadoes and flooding and things like that in the US. So there is an eclipse in July, by the way, that is going to be in Ardra. So this energy of frustration, anxiety, a feeling maybe of insecurity as well, might be coming up within, and sort of storminess without. It's a very creative energy, though. All of this has a connection to how we are attached to what we love, or what we believe in, what we desire. But there's this Mars and Saturn opposition coming to fruition, coming to kind of a climax right between, especially it looks like June 12th to June 17th, leading up to the full moon. We're having a lot of stress between our egos, perhaps, and our ownership of what we want in life and what's actually true and possible in the world. So now Saturn and K2, and I've been talking about this, I feel like, every single time I make a forecast, but it's so important right now to remember that the Saturn and K2 conjunction in Sagittarius is very hard on people who are in Saturn and K2 cycles right now, perhaps. And also Sagittarians, Geminis, they're really getting hit directly by this formation. Saturn and K2 has to do with humility, pruning back, purging, getting rid of, simplifying, getting real. And it is excellent for spiritual work. In fact, if you are someone who does spiritual practice, this month is some of the most, and the next is some of the most transformative and powerful energy you can focus in to your meditation, into your any kind of work that you're doing for charity as well, for service to the world. Especially this new moon has a special connection to Shani, because actually the dark moon hours leading up to the new moon is when we celebrate Saturn's birthday. Saturn, it's called Shani Jayanti. Shani is another name for Saturn. So this is an excellent new moon as well to prepare for these transits to come, and all this energy of Saturn and K2 coming forward through this intensity of Mars. We can prepare by spiritual practices, meditation, fasting might be something that you want to try, light fast, charitable donations, especially towards older people, people at the end of their life, or homeless people. Look around and see, even if it's just a small gesture, act of kindness, things are very much felt on this dark moon time leading up to June 3rd. The other important transit that's happening is when Mercury, the god of communication, enters Gemini and joins Rahu and Mars on June 1st. Mercury is going to be there until June 20th about. So this is going to be most of June, where Mercury is going to be also traveling through Ardra, that stormy star, also conjoining Mars and Rahu, especially around June 17th, June 16th, and the full moon there. That's a very powerful joining of the two. So Mercury, when he comes together with Mars, can also inflame how we communicate. It could kind of lead also to symptoms that might be something like a Mercury retrograde, but a little bit on steroids. There may be kind of chaotic situations when it comes to travel. So it's really important more than ever to be patient in transit and to be careful with our words, how we communicate. Nonviolent communication methods of just expressing what you need instead of confronting someone in a situation where you take the stance of blaming them for something. Or also, this alignment is such a powerful opportunity to really unravel any kind of maybe situation where you've been feeling victimized or disempowered. And it may be something quite internal that you can work on. You don't need to bring it forward into your relationships necessarily. Saturn in K2 anyway wants us to look inward and do inner work. And if we take a look at how we contribute to dynamics or maybe just habits, everyday habits we have in our lives that are not serving us, or how we might sort of fall into maybe negative patterns that we've learned that don't feel good. Sometimes the first step of breaking out of these negative trenches, especially if they're ones we've been in for a long time, is anger. Now, it's not anger that should be out of control or used to hurt others or ourselves. But anger is the first step out of grief, out of helplessness and loss. So harnessing the power of this Mars and Rahu and Mercury is something that is possible right now through a sort of fiery and intense, but self-loving at the same time, awareness of our emotions, right? So if we feel like we're being violated or like something is just not okay anymore, we can set our boundaries. Now, this is a really good time to be focused on boundaries, actually, and what makes us feel safe and respected and loved in situations, right? So, yeah, this is not easy stuff either. So also, a lot of us might just need to take it easy. Don't be signing contracts or doing complicated things if you can avoid it. Nothing risky either. Those who are, prone to try crazy things in the summer, just maybe wait until this transit's over, when it clears a little more anyway. In July, there'll be eclipses, but after July and August. This is a time when maybe a lot of risk-taking might actually be attractive to some people too, but it's not necessary either to go overboard, which is kind of what the energy may be asking you to do at some point. So also practicing restraint is important, but being real with yourself, and touching in on what's going on an internal level can be really, really good too this month. Maybe it's time to use this powerful June to reconnect with your power. Come back to yourself. And your courage, your strength, your awareness that what you're feeling is right and okay, your boundaries. And be patient, though, with yourself. Do not push yourself to go faster than you want to. It's about listening to your needs, too. Not that others need to listen as well, but your own needs, really listening to your heart. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about this. There's a lot more I could say, but let's just see what the tarot cards have to say about this fiery new moon coming up in Rohini. Okay, well, looks like the cards agree. It is pretty fiery. Wow. The Ace of Wands, pure element of fire. And, I was talking about fire being, I even wrote in my blog about fire at the very last paragraph. You should read that. I'll put a link to the description in the description window, because it's a lot of times when I write these blogs, I always do it before I do my videos. And I include things a lot more detail than I do with when I'm talking. So it's really good if you want to get on my mailing list. Check it out below too. There's a link. So I talked about this, the Rajasic, the Pitta element of fire, and the creative aspect of that as well. There's a connection to Agni, and this Mars, Rahu, and Mercury coming together. Agni is the fire of creation, but it's also an element that can be hot, right? And burn. The raging fire, the anger, the emotion of fierceness and defense, like Mars. So, as I was saying, there's two sides to fire. It's destructive nature, and then it's purifying, like a forest fire, clearing everything away to start new growth. So this is definitely a time, if you're ready, especially then with the coming eclipses in July, I feel like, to connect to that rebirth, starting new. Clear out the old, really change your patterns, really burn them out. Rise up new, like from the ashes, like a phoenix. And another fire card, I love this one, connected to the sign of Sagittarius as well, Temperance. In this deck it's called Art, but it's about the balance, right, of fire and water. Interesting. How we mix the two elements. The alchemy, the creativity of things that may seem to not fit together. The magic of how to bring the polarities together. That non-dualism, right? Maybe you could say, the creativity. So this is about how you can transmute the anger, frustration, the feelings. Maybe you feel oppressed by something, disempowered. The spirit is whole and complete. Your soul is perfect. There's nothing wrong. There is nothing to be fixed, actually. So there's no need to be impatient. Connecting to that whole soul, that whole power that you are. It always is. And creating something from it. That's why we're here. And finally, I love this, the Nine of Cups, Jupiter card. So this the aspect of powerful Jupiter, all of this craziness is going on, we still have that Jupiter so bright, peak magnitude this month, I believe, very bright. Go check it out. It's a good auspicious thing to be looking at, because Jupiter gives the grace of positive, optimistic connection with others as well. And that's what we need right now to grow in this June lunar cycle, waxing moon, to truly release what's entangling us and grow, not alone, but together. And one thing I didn't mention is this full moon coming, when all of it is getting really intense with Mercury and Rahu and Mars, everything, Saturn and Ketu, every malefic in the sky, Sun joins too. It's one thing that's happening on the other side of things is Jupiter and Venus are coming into opposition. Now they're very different energies, but they are two benefic energies. And when the moon is almost full, it will join, creating a Gajakeshari yoga. Gajakeshari is a very auspicious yoga. So there's another side to all of this, and I think that's what the cards are saying, that we can take advantage. We don't need to hide in our holes, although maybe it might feel like we want to. Although I don't advise going out again into crowded places or angry places or where there's a lot of chaos. It's probably not going to help things. But organizing and connecting with others this summer is a good thing to do, especially when it's around empowerment and creativity and group dynamics that can lift up the whole. So where do you find fulfillment, your happiness, your true love? You connect with your soul, your perfect and complete spirit. Don't complicate it. There is no need to be rushed. There is no need to burn too hot. Find the right temperature, mix the right ingredients, and cook a nourishing and creative potion for connectivity, for completion, for integration of who you are, for your true happiness. There's so much life and so much possibility that can grow from it. Okay, thanks for coming to the new moon forecast for June 2019. I'm Kari Field. I do Vedic Astrology readings online by Skype or by phone as well, by FaceTime. So reach out to me and book a reading. There's a link below. It's easy. And if you would like to get on my newsletter, do that too. There's a link. I'm going to put it below. And also be sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a free service, and I offer to you every new and full moon, and sometimes other days in between. I look forward to seeing you soon.